Hey y'all, welcome to this week's show. We'll take a little break from working our way through the Catechism of Father Sparago's exhaustive explanation of the Catechism of the Catholic Church, and our questions and answers from radio replies, because I'm recording this on September 11, and it's the day after Charlie Kirk's assassination. A few days after that horrific killing of the Ukrainian refugee on the train in Charlotte, and I tell you, it's all hit me really hard, and I'm always somber on 9/11. I know a lot of my audience will not have actually been old enough to remember that morning. It changed my life, changed most everybody's life, actually. I remember waking up and getting ready for work. It was a very chilly day. I was actually putting on a jacket, getting ready to go out, and when the first plane hit the building, and then the second plane hit the building. By the time I got to work, I had the radio on. The plane had crashed in Pennsylvania, and we lost 3,000 people in the blink of an eye. And I know, since there have been all kinds of conspiracy theories, and I don't really care. What happened was we lost that many lives, and it changed my life. Changed my life. Changed everybody's lives, hopefully. But I resolved that evening that I was going to quit my job there. Everything comfortable, going along all right. Had friends, was dating the whole bit. Was getting ready to start going to the local university there in Boone, Appalachian State. And they had at least one degree program I thought looked pretty good, and things were going to be fun. Things were going to be playing music again, and already had that lined up, and it actually reconnected with a girl from high school who was just stunning, gorgeous, actually like the great-great-granddaughter of Martha Washington, and our families have connections going back hundreds of years, and everything was going to be good. And I resolved that night, I knew I couldn't enlist in the military, even though that's what I really wanted to do. I would have been one of those to do it right away. But I still had a disability on my record from having been paralyzed from a back injury. And if you know my conversion story, you know that story. I was healed by a miracle, and also had family responsibilities. My grandmother had suffered her first heart attack. My uncle had suffered a stroke, and I knew I was going to have to go and take care of them a goodly amount of the time, and I did. Really. That became a full-time thing within a year or two, so I knew that was coming. And of course, also only child and divorced parents, and got a responsibility to my mother and such. But I decided I was going to go work in politics, and I did, and got accepted to a certain Southern Baptist university up in Virginia with a very well-known politically involved minister. I'll just go and tell you, it was Dr. Jerry Falwell. And I had already been making some connections in politics, had some friends with the Eagle Forum and Phil Schlafly's group, and Young Americans, YAF, whatever that is, different groups. And so I went up there and started getting involved as quickly as I could. Got involved with the local Republican Party. They were really great, really welcoming. I thought that's how all of them were till I got back to North Carolina. Anyway, came up with an idea, talking with my friends, especially at Eagle Forum and such as that. And I went to Dr. Falwell. I said, I want to start a group on campus. The goal is to educate all the students on politics, on pro-life issues, on faith and family issues. And I want this to start here and spread to every campus in America. And it's not going to be like the college Republicans. I'd been involved with the college Republicans back in Georgia. I won't say they're a worthless organization, but it's really all about networking, getting in with the right people, a lot of law students and such trying to get network their way up. How could I put it bluntly? Well, when I was at UGA, the two leaders of the college Republicans were 19, 20 years old, always wore khakis and dress shirts, dripping old money, and were bald. You did not get into the leadership, unless you were, old family and very well connected. I was old family in North Carolina. I was not in Georgia, and they were like, "Who are you?" And it was very exclusionary, we'll say. So I get up there, and Dr. Falwell's, I've told you before, he was one of the greatest men I've ever known. He was magnanimous. He slapped me on the back. He shook my hand. He said, "Whatever you need to make this happen, you call me. You tell so-and-so and so-and-so that I told you to do this, and go ahead and do it." Like, wow, blown away, right? So I started, and immediately faced opposition from those that were more established, like the college Republicans on campus, who stopped having meetings, essentially, so I couldn't use them to organize. Different people in the administration, such as that, ran into walls constantly. I had the temerity to be working in local politics, state politics, well, more on the national level as well. And I was very quickly hired by a Republican congressman to help with policy and speech writing. I was organizing people to go out and knock doors and walk districts, helping that with re-elections, working with a U.S. senator, got to know through a third party, G. Gordon Liddy, who also gave me his full endorsement and some advice and mentorship, to another, some connection with Rush Limbaugh. I was really kind of on my way, right? And, and then I converted to Catholicism. And Dr. Falwell had no problem with that whatsoever, but others at the school did, and I was summarily asked to leave. Well, that was okay because my grandmother had her second heart attack, and I went back to North Carolina, tried to do the same thing in North Carolina, and was blocked at every point. The Republican Party wanted nothing to do with me. This was before the Tea Party movement. I was some upstart. I hadn't paid my dues, and started a statewide newspaper, started going out from, 100 counties in North Carolina. I visited them all every single year, making speeches, signing people up, organizing anything from, petitions to door walking campaigns, get out the vote campaigns, you name it. And eventually crossed a couple of very influential people, congressmen and such, and they went after my advertisers. They shut us down, basically put us in bankruptcy. Before then, the people were trying to run me off the road, thanks to a certain congressman in the western part of the state. I was informed by the FBI that there was actually almost like a hit put out on me. They were going to kill me. That actually does tie to 9/11, but I'm not going to get into it. Let's just say that politician would not allow certain things to happen unless money was put in his campaign account. And I publicized that, and he lost his seat. And it was after that the knives were really out for me. So, long story short, I tried to do essentially what Charlie Kirk did. He came up about 5 years after I was out of the business. I was aware of him from the start, cheering him on all the way. Man, I thought Charlie Kirk hung the moon. It kind of irked me that he had the connection to the same university that had forced me to leave, and leave where I would have been extremely successful in politics, because Virginia is not like North Carolina at all. Virginians are friendly, welcoming, open, polite. Not in the D.C. area necessarily, but out in the central and western part of the state. And I mean, I had people were saying, okay, when you finish this, we want you to run for Congress. When you finish that, we want you to run for Senate. I was actually even set up on a date with one of the Bush twins. I wasn't set up on a date. Someone said, would you like for me to arrange this meeting? Frankly, in retrospect, essentially, especially with all the faith I lost in George W. Bush over the prosecution of the wars in Afghanistan and Iraq, and his support for gay marriage, that would be another big one. And then he never lifted a single finger to do anything for the pro-life cause that he supposedly championed. It helped him get elected, and then he wanted nothing to do with it. I'm very, very glad I did not get involved with the Bushes and McCains and all that crowd. So here comes Charlie Kirk, and man, he's doing it. He's kicking the ball out. He's knocking the ball out of the park. He's kicking the football down the field, and I mean, without Charlie Kirk, I don't know that President Trump would have been reelected. 18-year-old kid comes up in the Obama administration, starts doing exactly what my plan had been, from going and speaking and handing out pamphlets and going door to door, get out the vote, organizing, convincing people of especially the pro-life message. And he was all about God, family, and country. And yesterday somebody killed him. Now, I mean, human reaction. My first thought is that could have been me, and probably should have been me, and almost was me. And, you know, on the one hand, thank God it wasn't me. On the other hand, I am so broken and sad. For him, for his family, for our country. I mean, it's really gotten to me, that girl that was killed on the train in Charlotte. I mean, as y'all know, if you listen to the show for very long, my best friend was Ukrainian from Mariupol, and she went essentially back to Mariupol to get her mother out and her son. And they're all presumed dead. Okay, I mean, it's not like there's a grave somewhere that I know about, but I haven't heard from her. And we used to talk daily. Even when she was back in Ukraine, the power would be out. They'd set up a generator in a coffee shop, and she'd go in and she'd text me, "We're okay, we're okay." They had to leave for a while. I think they went over to like maybe Georgia or Czechoslovakia. Anyway, they had to come back because her son was had graduated high school and was becoming military age, and then nothing. And that was right after a huge drone attack, and I think a missile attack too, on in the neighborhood where she was staying in Odessa. So I begged her to come to America as a refugee. I would have sponsored her whole family, housed them, fed them, anything. And then to see that monster kill that girl in Charlotte. How can our nation be more dangerous than most of the neighborhoods in Kiev? How? How are there more killings in the streets of Chicago on a weekly basis than there were in Afghanistan at the height of the war, in Kabul? Our culture is so evil. Now, one thing that's really impressed me and gives me hope is that according to people that were close to Charlie Kirk, I never met him, not claiming to, and I'm certainly not trying to ride on his coattails or anything. I'm just giving you some background. His wife is a devout Catholic, And he had been attending Mass with her and their kids regularly. And they were planning on having their marriage blessed in the church. And about a week ago, from what I understand, he gave a speech honoring the Blessed Virgin Mary. I hope and pray that Charlie Kirk in his heart had already made the decision to become Catholic. And I'm praying for the repose of his soul, and that our Blessed Mother wrapped him in her mantle and took him directly to heaven. I think it's very important that we all fast if you can, do penance, offer up your sufferings. A truly good man has left this earth, leaving behind a family that's going to miss him forever until they're reunited with him. But what's important to understand is he was the leader of a movement. Now, I know not everybody listening to my show is a great Donald Trump fan, okay? I am. I am as MAGA as can be. He doesn't, not everything he does do I agree with. I'm definitely opposed to his position on, in vitro fertilization, such as that. But 99%, he is knocking it out of the park every day. So I was writing the gospel reflection for next year, and today's one that I was writing on happened to be the memorial of the Blessed Virgin Mary, Mother of the Church. And in the first reading, it's from when Adam and Eve were expelled from the Garden of Eden. And it says, let me see if I can just get the quote here. I will put enmity between you and the woman, between Satan and the woman, the serpent and the woman, and between you and your offspring and hers. He will strike your head while you will strike at his heel. The devil hates more than anything else, other than God, I suppose, family. He hates motherhood. He hates fatherhood. He hates love. He hates beauty. Everything so-called liberals stand for, the left, is against the family. The tools the devil uses to attack the family are divorce, abortion, contraception, pornography, radical political feminism, the feminist movement that is communist at its core, that's done nothing but tear families apart and denigrate fatherhood, the homosexual and transgender movements. These are the tools that he uses to destroy the family, which is the foundation of the church. Without the family, there's no church. That's everything the left stands for. Now, in the past few months, we've seen that horrific school shooting, church shooting, I guess you'd call it. The Catholic Church at a Catholic school. Trans activists goes up there and starts shooting into the church at Mass, killing children. For then, I guess last year, there was that trans activist who went and shot up a school in Nashville. From what I understand, the majority of the most recent school shootings and church shootings have been by trans activists. And the reports are as of now, and first reports, we go with them with what they are, but the FBI is saying that they've recovered the rifle of the person who shot Charlie Kirk, and it has trans messages carved into the ammunition in the rifle or painted on there, however it is. I haven't seen it. There is evil in this world. There is real evil in the United States. And it's that evil that's in these Antifa riots. It's that evil that's in these pro-abortion demonstrations. It's that evil that's in the trans movement. Now, I know certainly not all people who are so-called transgendered. That's something that doesn't even exist, by the way. It's gender dysphoria. Then they get manipulated by teachers, by doctors, drugged, and get their bits cut off, and they end up, a lot of them, insane. Okay? A lot of them are good people. A lot of them are trying to detransition. A lot of them are becoming Christian. It's the ideology behind that movement, just as it's the ideology behind radical political feminism, behind abortion, behind no-fault divorce, behind secularism in general that denies that there even is a God, that denies the church that God put here with the authority to teach in His stead, that denies the teaching of God through the Bible and through His church. It's evil. That's that same ideology that has allowed crime to run rampant on our streets. The prosecutors and the DAs that let criminals out of jail and then prosecute people praying peacefully in front of an abortion clinic, or investigate parents standing up for their kids at school board meetings saying, I don't want my kid made insane through radical teachers and drugs pumped into him without my knowledge. The movement Charlie Kirk led was changing that. The younger people starting to become more conservative, more Christian. And this is something that, most Christian denominations can agree on. This is not purely a Catholic issue. We can agree on this with the Baptists and the Methodists and whatever. I know a lot of the churches have gotten pretty darn radical. I mean, there are not a lot of conservative Anglicans left. There are some conservative Lutherans. There are some still, just a handful, conservative Presbyterians. But we can agree that our culture is evil, and it's the very root of it is the attack on the family. And that is purely satanic. So I'm going to wrap it up here. Today, as we remember the victims of 9/11 and all those killed and wounded in the wars that followed. And I don't just mean our soldiers. There are innocent Afghanis and Iraqis whose families were killed for no valid reason. I mean, we had a valid reason to go to war in Afghanistan to take out the Taliban. And that was pretty much wrapped up in the blink of an eye, and George W. Bush should have gotten our troops the hell out of there after that. Whether we had a valid reason to go into Iraq, I don't know. I don't know. I was somewhat on the inside at the time. I was given information that usually didn't get out to the general public. There are things about that conflict that many people don't know. But as the source of that information was like the CIA, and we found out how thoroughly corrupt the CIA is. If we didn't know it, before, with the Kennedy assassination on up through the drug trafficking of the 80s and all the stuff they've been up to, we've certainly found it out after Biden stole the election. We have certainly found out that the CIA and the FBI and our military intelligence agencies have fairly corrupt and really deep state evil. Military, we were warned decades ago about the military industrial complex, that they would start wars just to make money. Now, I'm not going to say one word about whether Iraq was a just war or not. I don't know. But I do know it could have been over in a matter of weeks. And we had no reason to station troops there for almost 20 years, getting their arms and legs blown off and being killed. And that's why I really am glad that I have nothing to do with the Bush family or the Cheney family, and that Donald Trump has pretty much destroyed their political influence. Thank God for Donald Trump, at least for that. You may hate everything else about the man, but he has taken down the Clintons, the Bushes, and the Cheneys. And God willing, by the time it's all over, J.D. Vance at least will put an end to any influence Obama had. And the Bidens, I mean, they're done. They're done. I mean, there will be Biden will be remembered as an illegitimate president, as a national disgrace, and I mean his family name will never carry any influence in this country again. But my main point is, I want you to think of Charlie Kirk as a martyr. No different than the early Christian martyrs, no different than the Maccabees, no different than the martyrs in the American Revolution, or, those that were killed in the Civil Rights Movement, for better or for worse. Some of the Civil Rights Movement was wonderful, and some of it was really not so good. But that's probably true of just about anything that humans have their hands on. Whether the man was converting to Catholicism or not, he stood up for God, country, and family. He had a love for the Blessed Virgin Mary. And he was killed denouncing the trans movement, peacefully trying to debate and talk people into an understanding of the importance of the family. His main goal, he said, after Trump's election, was to convince people to get married and have big families, especially young people. Get married young and have big families and raise them up in good Christian homes. I do not believe in any way, shape, or form that it's a coincidence that he was killed, apparently by a trans activist, during a month and a week dedicated to the Blessed Virgin Mary. But remember, the serpent will strike at Jesus' heel, but will eventually be crushed. And it's going to be hard until that point. We're a long way off. We're a long way off. The church has taught for thousands of years that the end of time will not come until the Jews have converted to Christianity, and the Muslims as well, for that matter. And our Blessed Virgin Mary our Blessed Mother has promised that she will be the one that leads the Muslims to conversion. We're a long ways off. Things are going to get a lot worse before they get better. But I want you to remember that Charlie Kirk was the leader of a movement. And as a martyr, his blood will fertilize that movement. We can't let it be in vain. And we can't lash out with any kind of violence or vindictiveness. He was not about that. And as Christians, we're not about that. My prayer is that the millions of young people that his life touched will each rise up to be a Charlie Kirk. And if you're listening to this today, and you can do that, I can tell you it comes with risks, it comes with opposition, it comes with difficulties that you cannot imagine. You will think you have allies and friends one day, and the next day they will be the very people trying to destroy you. But it's worth it. We're the church militant. We're the church on earth. It's our job. And if you know a college student who was influenced by Charlie Kirk, or you know somebody in their 20s or whatever, or someone who is open to rational debate and understanding, if you know a high school student who's maybe their politics aren't really formed yet, videos of Charlie Kirk, this very podcast, share it with them. And then say, I'd like you to see this video of Charlie Kirk. And it could just be that one of his daughter running up and hugging him and say, this is who the leftists, the Antifa, the trans activists, the Democrats killed. This is the man. And then after that, there's some good videos from PragerU. I don't agree with Prager on a lot, but I agree with him on enough that there's some videos I would share. You know, there's a lot. Turning Point USA is going to continue. And as has been said so many times in the last 24 hours, let this be the turning point. Let 9/10 of 2025 be, for the good, what 9/11 was in so many lives. A day we never forget. Oh, one more thing. I did a little video tribute to Charlie Kirk. Just me playing my guitar. I took the words to an old song about a communist labor union organizer that was made popular by Joan Baez, and changed the words to honor Charlie Kirk. I thought he would find that a little humorous, get a kick out of it. So that's on YouTube. It's on my YouTube channel. Let me pull up the URL for that real quick. I'll put it in the show notes. I don't need to take up any more of your time, but my channel on YouTube. I'm real good at self-promotion, aren't I? Yeah. Anyway, my channel, I guess, is, you know what, that URL doesn't make any sense. But it's Judson Carroll on YouTube, Judson Carroll 5902. I'll put the link on it. And, it was just something I did. It was heartfelt, and I hope you'll enjoy it. It's called I Dreamed I Saw Charlie Kirk. So anyway, y'all, have a great week. We'll get back to normal next week. Pick up where we left off, talking about the sacraments, the all-important sacraments. But, today's a good day to offer some penance and to pray. Pray for our nation. Pray that people will reject, that the American people will reject the godless socialist Democrats, liberalism, progressivism, communism, socialism, whatever you want to call it, and turn to Christian morals and teachings. I pray for the unity of all Christians. I pray every day, and we all should. It's actually an indulgence prayer that all the Protestants will return to the Catholic Church. But until then, there are some things we can agree on. And core, is the family. God, family, and country. Our country's not always right, but we can rely on God and family. And as long as we prioritize those two things, the rest falls in. The rest falls into place. Anyway, y'all, I'll talk to you next time.